Hello, good day to you guys. Today we are going to be looking at how we can make use of what if analysis in Microsoft Excel. So in Microsoft Excel, there is a function called what if analysis. What is the use case of what if analysis? What do we use what if analysis for? Let's assume a scenario based on the simple data set that we're going to be using for this learning. We have a birthday coming and we want to plan ahead for the birthday. Now, we are expecting 5 people to actually grace our event, and for every person there's going to be a slice of cake each for them. So based on this data set that I have, simple data that I have 5 people that is going to be coming for my birthday. So 5 people will be coming, and then for each of them, you can see the formula reference there is so based on the formula reference that I have here, I'm referencing the amount of people. So the number of people that will be coming for the birthday is the same amount of cake that will be shared. So now I have equals to H9, that is reference every single thing that is coming inside cell H9. That is, if I should increase the people to 6, then the cake should also be 6. In this case, if I try to make manipulation to this guy and say I want it to be 7 or so, then it's going to automatically reflect and change the cake size too. Then I have the cake price. So for each cake, I'm going to be spending the total amount of 1,900. So 1,900 on each cake is going to give me, multiplying by the number of people that I'm going to be expecting, will give me the total amount. As you can see, the total amount is going to be H11 multiplied by H10. So that means the cake price multiplied by the number of cake that I'm going to be giving out. And as you can see, don't forget that for every increase or the increment that I have for the people is going to be the same thing I'm going to be having for the cake. So that means in this case, if I try to say, hey, I want to invite 9 people, then I'm going to have 9 cake too as well. And what Microsoft Excel is going to do is that multiply 9 by the cake price. That's going to give me the total amount. Now, when we say what if in Microsoft Excel, what does that mean? What if is a kind of situation that's just like the way it sounds literally. What if I invite 9 people, but all of them do not show up? I have 8 people present. How many cake will I have? How much do I have to spend? Or let's say, for example, you intentionally wants to say, hey, based on your the amount of money that you have, you want to consider inviting 10 people because the amount that you have cannot provide for more than 10 people. What if you invite 10 people? Or what if the total amount of cake you have is 15? How many people will be invited, or how many people has to be invited, or what is going to be the total amount of money you are going to spend if you are inviting, say for example, 15 people? So we have a lot of scenario that you can try out when you are using the what if analysis in Microsoft Excel. What if literally sounds the way, it works the way it sounds. What if this happened? What if I decided not to go? What if I decide to go? What if I launch this particular thing? What if I decided not to? So a lot of questions usually come in when we have the what if analysis. In Microsoft Excel, we have 3 types of what if analysis. So your what if is going to be under the data tab. Under the data tab, then we have the what if analysis. So right here, what if analysis. So this is where you are going to have all the options for your what if analysis depending on the type that you want to work with. Now, in Microsoft Excel, we have 3 types of what if analysis. The first one is a scenario manager. The second one is goal seek. The third one is data table. And I'm going to be explaining every single one of them in this video. So let's try out the first one, scenario manager. How does it work? So a scenario manager basically work with creating a scenario. So by default, I'm going to be having the scenario manager empty. In this case, if I say, hey, for example, I want to create a scenario. So you're going to click on the add. I want to add a scenario whereby I'm going to be inviting 15 people, for example. So this scenario name basically doesn't have anything to do with your formula or what is going to be changing. It is basically the name of the scenario. So it can be people, it can be 15, it can be anything, it can be my invitation. The scenario name doesn't have to be anything specific. So it can be any name that you want to provide for your scenario so that you can easily identify that particular scenario. So I'm going to be creating a scenario where I'm inviting 15 people. Then it's going to ask me for the changing cell. What does the changing cell means? The changing cell is basically what do you want to change? If you are inviting 15 people, which cell, what part of the cell do you want to change? So I want the cell of people to change because I want to invite 15 people. I'm creating a scenario where I'm inviting 15 people. So I'm going to say, okay, change this cell of people if I'm inviting 15 people. Then if I say, okay, then it's going to ask me to provide the value. So what will the value of that scenario be? So scenario whereby I'm inviting 15 people. So in this case, I'm just going to say 15. Then I'm going to add that scenario. I want to add another one. Then I'm going to say, what if I'm inviting 20 people? So this is a scenario name, don't forget. And the changing cell is going to be H9, the people that you're inviting. Then I'm going to say, okay. Then it's going to ask me, what is the value? For enter values for each of the changing cells. So what value do I want? If I'm inviting 20 people, I want 20. So if I press OK, then I'm going to see that two scenarios have been created. I've created a scenario where I'm inviting 15 people. I've also created a scenario where I'm inviting 20 people. You can go ahead and add as much as you want, depending on the requirements you are trying to work towards or meet up with. So if I say, hey, I want to invite 17 people, for example, 17 people, scenario name, 17 people. Don't forget I said the scenario name can be anything. So if I say, okay, it's going to ask me what value should that scenario be? And I'm going to say 17. If I press OK, now, how does it work? How can I see each of these scenarios? Pretty simple. So if you click on the first scenario, say for example, 15 people, then I'm going to say Microsoft Excel. I want you to show me what the scenario is going to be if I invite 15 people. So I'm just going to click on show. Now you can see Excel is not telling me that if you invite 15 people, that means you have to get 15 cakes and each cake costs 1,900. That means at the end of the day, you have to spend 28,500 if you are inviting 15 people. I can go ahead and say, okay, I want to see for 20 people, as you can see. Now, Excel is going to say, if you are inviting 20 people, that means you have to get 20 cakes. That means each for every single person that you invite, you have to get them a single cake. That means we have 20 people, 20 cakes. Then we have 1,900 for each of them, and the total amount is going to be 38,000. Then you can check a scenario where you invite 17 people as well. Say show, then it's going to say 17 people, 17 cakes, 1,900 or 1,900 for each of them. And at the end of the day, you have to spend the total amount of 32,300. This is basically, in the simplest way, how the scenario manager works. So you can delete, you can edit, you can merge, and you can check for the summary. But we want to make it as simple as possible. So if you're not interested in the scenario anymore, you can say delete. And if you want to edit, let's say for example, you're not interested in 17 people anymore, you want it to be, instead of 17 people, you want it to be maybe 18 people. Maybe there is one friend that you forgot to add to your scenario. Then say, okay, I want this to be 18. So that is basically how you can edit. Then this case, if I say, okay, what if it is 18? Then it's still going to show you what is going to be the case if you are inviting 18 people. This is the first part of what if analysis in Microsoft Excel. We have another example that is called goal seek, or another type, goal seek. Goal seek basically means that, hey, I have 20,000 with me. So how many people do I have to invite? In this case, you are saying, I want to invite 18 people. Then how much do I have to spend? That is the scenario. But in this case, in the case of goal seek, you basically say, I have 20,000, for example, then how many people do I have to invite? That means you want to work within your budget. You want to know how many people you have to invite, how many cakes you have to get, because you don't want to spend more than a particular amount. In the case of scenario manager, your total is always going to be changing depending, or basically based on how many people you are inviting. But in the case of goal seek, you're trying to like restrict it that, hey, goal seek, then the first thing is asking you is set sell. So I want to set the sell of my total amount. That is, I don't want to spend to value. What do you want to set that particular sell to? I want to set it to 20,000 because I don't want to spend more than 20,000. Then by changing which cell, I want to change the cell of people. So I want to restrict the total amount that I'm going to be spending for this birthday to 20,000. I don't want to spend more than that. Now I want Microsoft Excel to change the cell of people so that it's going to tell me, hey, if you are trying to spend 20,000, that means the number of people you are going to be inviting is going to be this. So if I press OK, then Excel automatically calculate and say, hey, Microsoft, if you want to spend 20,000 and one cake, like each cake is going to be costing you the total of 1,900, that means you have to invite 10.5 people. So basically saying you have to invite 10 people. So goal seek is going to say, this is the amount I have. So what is going to contribute, or how many people, in this case that we're using as an example, how many people do I have to invite so that I won't spend more than 20,000 that I've budgeted for this birthday party? So it is this simple. Scenario Manager allows you to create different scenarios and it's going to be giving you changing totals. But when it comes to goal seek, you are going to have a single total, but it's going to be changing every single thing that depends on the total. So this is how the goal seek works in Microsoft Excel when you are using what if analysis. The last part of what if analysis in Microsoft Excel is called data table. So data table is basically saying, hey, I want to create different scenario, but instead of me to go to scenario manager and start creating them one after the other, I just want to see it on a table format in Microsoft Excel. How does that work? So we can say something like, hey, I want people. So scenario, if I invite 5 people, 6 people, 7, 8, 9, let's say 10, then we are going to say, we want to reference the total amount in this case. So let's say, for example, I want my total amount to be 20,000. Then I'm going to say equals to reference the total amount, in this case like this. Now, what I'm trying to tell Excel is that if I should invite 5 people, how much is my total amount going to be? How much am I going to spend? That is basically what the data table is going to be telling you. It is more like a scenario manager too, but this case you want to create it and you want to see it at once, because when you are working with scenario manager allows you to show each of the value that you are trying to check, each of the scenario one after the other. You click on the scenario, then you say show, click on the scenario, then you say show. But when it comes to data table, you can see everything, all the scenarios you are creating with the value in front of them at once. So in this case, I'm going to highlight the values that I want to work with. I want Excel to provide what is going to be the total amount if I invite 5 people, if I invite 6 people, 7 people, 8 people, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. So I'm highlighting this data table. Then I'm going to say what if analysis data table. Now it's going to ask me, how is my formatting? What do I want? So row input cell, you are not going to provide anything for the row input cell because I want my data table is in column format. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. So I want you to fill it in a column sense. So I'm going to say it's going to be, so for the data table, it's going to be asking you for the column input cell. So in this case, the column input cell is going to be for cake, because cake has a formula. What the data table is going to be asking you, the column input cell actually requires a cell that has a formula. So this case, the formula for cake depends on how many people you are inviting. Don't forget we said the cake is going to be equals to whatever that is inside H9. So if you say okay, then what's going to happen is that this guy is going to calculate different scenarios based on the number of people that you want to invite. So if you want to double check that, you can say equals to 5 multiplied by 1900. 1900 is the total amount, is the number, amount of cake. So one cake costs 1900. So if I'm inviting 5 people, that is 5 multiplied by 1900, then it's going to tell me 95. And in this case, if you can see as well, we have 5 times, we are inviting 5 people, then you have 9500 total amount that you're going to be spending. So if you are inviting 10 people, that means you are going to be spending 19,000 for the cake you want to buy for your birthday party. So basically, how these things work is that both the three of them work in a scenario sense, because we want to create, if this thing should happen, what should happen? If this thing doesn't happen, then what should still happen? So you are creating like a cause and effect. So something is going to cause something, then it's going to have an effect on that particular thing. So in the case of what if analysis, we have created the 3 examples that we have in Microsoft Excel. The first one is how to use the scenario manager. The second one is the goal seek, and the third one is the data table. The scenario manager, don't forget, actually allows you to create a scenario. You add multiple scenario as much as you want, then you can show each of them, and Microsoft Excel is going to give it up to you. Then when you are using goal seek basically says, I have this budget, I want to work within my budget, then how many people do I have to invite? So that guy is not going to be changing your total amount. Every single thing in your data is going to be depending on the goal seek value that you've set. Then we have data table. Data table works in the same way as the scenario manager, but the difference is that the data table is going to be showing you in an Excel and data format. So it allows you to show multiple scenarios at the same time. Instead of, if you're using the scenario manager, you have to click on one of them and show, click on one and show. So this is how this is how the what if analysis work in Microsoft Excel. If you have any question as regards to any part of the what if analysis, you can drop it in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.